All right, we're live on both.
Okay.
Jacob's on board, so you have a.
Okay. Looks like our group has gathered. Tonight, everybody that's listening or present, welcome to our town council meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. We don't have any, I'm getting a little feedback. Is that me or somebody else? Okay. So we do not have any presentations or a public hearing tonight. Our first order of business is minutes of the previous meeting. I will ask for a motion to approve, please.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve the minutes from February 1st, 2021 regular meeting and February 8th, 2021 special meeting.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. On to our announcements and reports. Does anybody have any announcements or reports to make this evening?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Rosemary, go ahead.
Yes, last week I attended two meetings, two groups to which I'm the liaison. On Tuesday night, I attended the Library Board of Trustees, and certainly Library Director Tomlinson reported that the library is continuing to operate smoothly with all the protocols in place. They're also going to be introducing some new databases. One that just got up is called Simply E, and it gives access to over 90,000 titles that you can download onto a mobile device, an iPad or a smartphone. Things from New York Public Library, the Connecticut State Library, as well as Overdrive and other sources. And I tried it out today, and it worked pretty easily. And I think it's going to be a great resource. And they are going to be introducing at least one other database soon. On Wednesday night, I attended the Conservation Commission, and they are planning some spring activities, and will be making some decisions and plans at their March meeting. So I'll have those announcements to come in the future. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Rosemary. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to report on since our last meeting? Okay, hearing none, I'll just give a very brief overview of the public hearing that occurred regarding Valley Water's request for a rate increase. As you know, I read a statement from the town council into the record regarding Valley Water increase, various reasons why there should probably be, and we ask that it be postponed until the hardness treatment plant is online. There's a lot of pushback from residents regarding the hardness of the quality of the water. There was a bit of financial information. I know that the town manager distributed to everybody the statement that I made. So that is in the file and it is on record. There were approximately participating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 people that also provided their opinion and testimony that evening, all from Plainville, of course, mostly focusing on the timing of the rate increase in lieu of COVID issues, along with water quality issues that they have personally had regarding appliances, fixtures, taste, and those sorts of things. So there was participation by local ratepayers, which is exactly what the commission likes to see, so that when they go ahead to deliberate and make some decisions, they have that testimony in hand. And there is another one coming up. Robert, you will help me with this. I believe it's this coming Thursday in the morning at 9 a.m. Is that right?
Yes, it is. And we have instructions on the webpage on how people can sign up and participate in that. I will be putting some items on social media as well. People can still submit written testimony by email or by letter, and that information is online as well.
Okay, So as you can see, this is going to go on for some time. There won't be a decision, I don't know, for a number of months, I would suspect, by the time the commission gets through all of the documentation and their questioning to Valley Water regarding this rate increase request. So the town of Plainville is a very active participant in it. I think that's a great thing. I think it helps show that our local government has been following this issue very closely and has actively participated in listening to the concerns of our residents. We had those two very large public information sessions that we hosted, and I think the commission was pleased to hear about those things. So we are indeed actively part of that process, and I know that Robert is getting regular updates as this goes along as well. So that is one of my most recent reports that I'd like to make on that. If there are no other reports from anybody else on the council, which I'm assuming not, I'm going to move on to appointments and resignations. We have a couple of things to make here. So we have the 2021 fire company officers. I assume Councilman Nazzo will take care of that for us?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Motion to acknowledge the 2021 fire company elected officers and recognize the fire company captain and lieutenants as officers of the fire department.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Thanks very much for that. Let's see. Do we have any other appointments this evening? I know on our list of appointments, there's a number of them from various commissions that probably should be made. If you could all take a quick look at that for our next meeting, we can get those taken care of as well. So there are some that should probably be timely to get done, but we will do it the next time. Next item is Board of Education liaison. I don't know that we have anybody from the Board of Ed on. Okay, we're gonna move on with that. As you know, the board passed their budget on, and it is now in the possession of Town Manager Robert Lee, and ultimately the Town Council will take care of that. So we'll take a look at that when the time comes. Report of the Town Attorney, Attorney Chomick, do you have anything for us tonight?
No report tonight, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us on our call tonight. The next item is report of the town manager. Mr. Lee, you have a number of items, so I'm going to turn this over to you.
Yes, briefly, I just want to go back to appointments and point out that the fire company officers who were elected by the company was Captain Bill Gammons, First Lieutenant John Miska, and three other lieutenants being Thomas Moschini Jr., Doug Macarelli, and Adam Barbuto. So just wanted to let people know who was elected from the company, and probably should have had that in the motion, but it was a little deeper down in the information, so a little tougher to find.
Thank you.
Next item I have is the fiber project update. The fiber project continues to move forward. This project, when completed, will connect town buildings, the schools, police communication repeaters, and several sewer pumping stations to high-speed fiber. The town has contracted with Certex to install the fiber on the utility poles. Before this can be done, work must be performed in many instances to create space for the new fiber. Additionally, some existing utility poles must be replaced to accommodate the new services. This takes a lot of coordination between Eversource, Frontier, Crown Castle, which is basically Comcast, and a company called FiberTech before Certex can do their work. Town staff has been conducting monthly updates or meetings with the utilities companies since early summer on this project. It is now anticipated that Certex can begin their work by the end of March. Their installation will take approximately 2 months. In the interim, the IT department, led by Kevin Ross, is preparing interconnections with the municipal center, library, police department, fire department, senior center, recreation department, buildings and grounds, and roadways department. And they have also begun rewiring the water pollution control facility, setting up data, and to ensure that they have the necessary equipment for the fiber. The same will be done to the buildings and grounds that currently do not have internet service. It is expected that the project will be completed early this summer. On the outdoor wireless access points for the town hall and library, through the efforts of the IT department, again led by Kevin Ross, the town was recently awarded 2 outdoor access points via a state program to help spread connectivity access across Connecticut. The IT department is suggesting the installation of these access points in the rear of the municipal building and the library, and I believe, Kevin, you have some sketches of how that would play out. This will provide internet service to anyone in the parking lots of these 2 town buildings. It is expected that these access points will be installed, I believe, during the spring. And Kevin, I don't know if there's anything you want to add on those first 2 items that we were speaking about with regards to either the fiber project or the wireless access points.
Sure. Yeah, we're super excited about the fiber project, you know, having some concrete dates moving forward. We're looking forward to getting all those locations online, the pump stations, especially from part of that project. Then we'll be moving to, you know, getting the municipal buildings all connected and, you know, coming back to town hall. This will help increase the reliability of the phone system. This will allow us to put the phone system into the buildings and grounds and into the water pollution control building, because those 2 locations have they have DSL right now, and if that, it's very slow. This will also allow us to make our police repeaters across the town far more redundant, because they're not reliant on multiple buildings for the communication to pass through. The fiber we're putting in will be direct to the building, to the repeaters. So all the ones at Toflon and the one at buildings and ground and the one up by Lowe's, those will all be direct. And they'll be all controlled and managed by the company, Goosetown. So it helps me out, because whenever I'm doing updates or anything, their repeaters used to go down. So if I updated something in between, it would take it down. So that was a big update. Onto the Wi-Fi. This is a grant that the state of Connecticut put out, offered. We qualified as a town for 2 locations, and they wanted them in somewhat public locations. And as you can see on our screen here, this is the town library. This is the back, and this is where the access point will be in this location here, and it will cover this whole back area. This will allow people to come in their car or sit and use this Wi-Fi in public. This can be part of what's called the EduRoam. So university students could come, or someone who's in any of the state universities and high schools could log in and use it. The other location is the town hall. And we thought this was be a good location, proximity to the police department. So, you know, we can monitor for people who are sitting here and use this area. So again, the same thing, covering these parking lots and these areas where people can come and access the Wi-Fi. All of this is paid for. We have a 5-year license for the hardware. They're actually providing the bandwidth as well. So we're not even using the bandwidth from the town or school connection. They're hooking this up. They're doing all the physical wiring and installation. So hopefully your approval tonight will have this done, and we can submit this to them and they can start work on this shortly. And that's what I have.
Is there any questions from the council members with regards to either of those 2 items?
Robert, this is Kathy. I just want to thank you for providing the update. I know we talked about this some time ago. It's a big project that is going to be immensely beneficial to the town and to the schools as well. And so, you know, updates are always good, and it's good to see that it should be hopefully ready to go sometime in the spring, you're saying? Is that the estimation?
The Wi-Fi will be in the spring. I expect the fiber to probably be closer to either late spring, early summer.
Okay. All right.
And we'll hopefully have the equipment, most of the equipment we've already put in place. As we've been upgrading locations, we've been preparing for it. So we have a few pieces we have to get together to be ready, but I'm hoping we should be ready once the fiber is turned over to us.
Okay, and just one quick, Kevin, if you will, just a very thumbnail sketch about the benefits that this is going to bring to the various departments in the town and the locations where we're going to have fiber available. What are the benefits to that, and what improvements will those end users see as a result of this?
At the location, so some of the things that we're looking at is security with camera systems. So we could put cameras in different locations to monitor certain parts, like the park department. We could offer Wi-Fi in the park as well because of the buildings and grounds. We will be looking at, right now, we're looking at a project to do access controls for the firehouse, and they'll actually be using the servers from in the system that we use for the schools. So we'll have a unified access control system. We're also looking to expand that into the police department and other locations for safety, security, having one system, and those different departments could use them. The phone system will be more robust, like I said, so that's going to keep lowering our costs for phones. We'll be able to turn off more of the old pot lines moving forward. And then it'll also help us streamline and increase the capabilities at the outer locations as we become more reliant on technology. Someone at buildings and grounds and some of their equipment, they'll have access to, internet to look up, resources and things like that. The waste pollution control will have access to their systems in a more real time than just getting alarms. So they'll be able to monitor some things there. So those are just some of the basics as we move forward. The other thing that, I'm going to just put this out there now as an idea. Now that we have this backbone throughout the town, basically because of where the pump stations are, there is the opportunity down the line to expand the network. Surtex does offer a fiber to the home service. And if you were interested, we could even look at that down the road. Let's finish this first, but then that's something we've talked about this in the past. I've talked about it about the when the state was running what's called the Got Gig connection, trying to get more homes, more competition in the internet service providers. And that would be another option that Plainville could do now that the fiber backbone is already there. We can build off of that. As part of that, I don't know if you know, if some of you've seen, Southington is getting a provider that's putting in, it's called Go Net Speed. They're putting a fiber to the home gigabit connection for $100 a month, unlimited. And if any of you are on Xfinity, and have been reading, Xfinity wants to start putting in what's called data caps. If you use too much data, they're going to start charging you for overages. I'm a family that's going over it, so I'm concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things that, with the fiber in place, that we could take care of, we can manage and use pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting concept in light of what everybody has experienced with the COVID, as a result of the COVID, with children being at home using services, with families being at home using services, and ultimately, perhaps workers will be more at home than in an office setting using those kinds of services. So it certainly is looking like that is the wave of the future, and maybe that will be something we need to seriously look at down the road somewhere.
Yeah, I think it makes the town more advantageous for people working from home. And I think, as we're hearing, many companies are making decisions that they will let their employees to work from home and may not ever come back to an office or have a full corporate office where they may have just meeting rooms where you come in occasionally for. So
Sure.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting chime.
Okay, thanks for the update, Kevin. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions for Kevin about this project? We've been talking about it for a couple of years, and now it's starting to physically come into place. So I appreciate the update and look forward to it being completed.
Kathy, I also sat in on a Capital Region Council of Governments Municipal Services Committee meeting this morning. Where we heard a presentation from the Western, what they call Western COG, Council of Governments, about 5G. And believe it or not, as I understand it, those 5G antennas, which there have to be a lot of them, in order to, a lot more antennas than typical service, they require I guess, control boxes, on the ground. And some of those control boxes can take up some space, but putting that aside, those control boxes, as I understand it, as it was explained, need to be connected to fiber in order to generate the 5G capabilities at the antenna stage. And by us having fiber in place and be able to easily expand it, it may provide us with some advantages to getting 5G sooner in Plainville than perhaps other communities. So,
Great.
Which also is certainly an economic benefit to businesses and to citizens as well. The speed on 5G is just 100 times faster than 4G. Just to give you some perspective, that's how it was explained. So there's a lot that goes into having this fiber in place, especially if it's controlled by the town. We have better opportunities to negotiate with regards to use, and hopefully we'll be able to make it available to our residents at a reduced price for what they would charge otherwise. But that's subject to some litigation at the state level, which hopefully will get resolved in the not too distant future. So
it's not going away, that's for certain. It's the way we all are operating now. So good to be sort of at the outset of the curve rather than trying to catch up.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item I have is $6 million GO band, stands for General Obligation Bond Anticipation Note. The town recently went out to bid to renew $6 million in general obligation bond anticipation notes. The low bid was submitted by TD Bank with an interest rate of 0.23%. This is the lowest band rate in several years in Connecticut, except for one for the town of Greenwich, which is a AAA town at 0.18%. The town also mitigated the issuance expense by bypassing the need to issue an official statement. Plainville has an above average AA+ rating through Standard & Poor, which allowed for strong investor interest and locking in an historically low interest rate. The ban will expire in September, at which time the town will permanently bond these monies. I do want to thank Rob Buden, Finance Director, and Barry Bernabe from Phoenix Advisors for their work as they work together, on this ban renewal. Just to give you a little perspective, we borrowed $6 million for approximately, 8 months, and our interest cost on that will be about $10,000. So that's a pretty good deal at least from our perspective. Rather than go to the financial dashboard right now, I'll go with the COVID-19 update and then flip back to the financial dashboard. Vaccinations are now available to anyone over 65 years of age. Hartford Healthcare has announced that they are opening 2 new max vaccination sites soon. The first one will be located at 1 Liberty Square in New Britain and is expected to open next Monday. The town website has a link that will allow seniors to make appointments directly to that site, as opposed to going into the system and getting a lot of choices. There's a link that'll allow you to make those appointments directly in Liberty Square. The second site is going to be located at Oakdale Theater in Wallingford. Not sure how many people from Plainville will want to participate there, but that opens up on March 1st. And they're anticipating that both of those sites will do about 500 vaccinations a day, 6 days a week. Instructions on how to get an appointment for COVID-19 vaccinations can be found on the town website at www.plainvillect.com. The health district is also beginning to reach out to the homebound. For example, Shane Lockwood is working with Linda DeCenzo at the Housing Authority to identify residents to schedule a vaccination at the senior housing complex. Sean Cohen is also providing transportation for those seniors who need it to get to the vaccination sites. And any senior citizen who needs assistance in scheduling a vaccination, or having problems doing that, can contact Stephanie at the Senior Center at 860-747-5728. And she will be happy to help you. there's no questions about the COVID-19 update, I'll go back to the financial dashboard.
Robert, just one comment about COVID-19 and the vaccinations. Is it generally thought that people are having more capability to register for those vaccines and get them done versus a month ago? I know that was a problem for a number of people trying to get appointments due to long waits on telephone lines, or some folks inability to use, to log in through a computer system and do it over the internet. So is Sean finding that things are starting to pick up and moving a little more quickly for people?
Yes, it appears that as they improve the system and get more operators, so to speak, more people working on on scheduling, that it's getting a little bit better. It's getting better than it had been.
Mm-hmm.
These direct links are helpful, and I think people are, we're learning the workarounds, because under some of the systems you have to have an email address.
Right.
On other systems you don't have to have an email address. Having that direct link to Hartford Healthcare, I think, will make things smoother for scheduling as well. So yes, people are beginning to answer the phones now. In the past you get a busy signal for a couple of days and you just be hit or miss. So it does look like things are getting a little bit better. What would be more helpful, though, is if we could get more vaccines out of the federal government, because we are
Mm-hmm.
somewhat limited in how many we can do. Just because we don't get as, we could use more vaccines. So.
Mm-hmm. Well,
excuse me.
just
Right.
one more comment, Rosemary. I know that some folks are opting out of getting the vaccine. So regarding more vaccine, is do you know if the estimation of how much we need is dependent on everybody getting it that's available, or just a percentage of those? Because we do know that not everybody wants to get this, and some folks have opted out. So do you know that, or is that just kind of, they're seeing how it goes?
Well, what it allows is the more vaccines we get, the sooner that, other categories, younger people can get the vaccines as well. So, when they start seeing the, that people are not making appointments as quickly, and things start to die down in a particular age group, then they open it up to another, to the next age group. So, as it stands right now, we can take any, pretty much anything they give us. It's really on the tail end, where all of the age categories, have been allowed to get the vaccine. And when they start to see that slow down, then that's when I think the supply will make it, will make a difference.
Okay. Rosemary, did you wish to add something?
Yes, when I got my mail this afternoon, I just want to say that the senior center has sent a mailing out to everybody who's registered with them, giving them the information that Robert just outlined, including the offer of assistance and making appointments, and including some more detailed information about the dial-a-ride for transportation. So I thought that was a very good proactive thing, kind of the old-fashioned hard copy. But for many people, that might be particularly helpful. That you're sort of being bombarded with it on TV and all this. But I think the one local communication may be very helpful. So I was impressed with that. That was a good idea. We do need to support and encourage our folks to be vaccinated. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Rosemary. I agree. I think that some folks are just do not have devices. They don't feel comfortable on computers, and that's a very good thing that our local senior center did that.
Yeah, no, I was
aware of their, opportunities to get those things done.
Yeah, I was pleased to see that today in the mail. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you so much. Anybody else wish to weigh in on this? Okay. Thanks, Robert.
All right. We'll move on to the dashboard. The dashboard for the first 7 months of the fiscal year, which is basically through January 31st, was included in your meeting information package a little bit, I think it was earlier today, and was posted on the town website as well. And I'll go through that. On the expenditure side, we've spent pretty much 60% of our budget, and that's pretty much at the 2-year average. General government budget, again, it's pretty much at the 2-year average. as well as the Board of Education budget. So they're pretty much online. Nothing out of the unusual as far as either of those budgets are concerned so far. Police overtime stands at 67% through the first 9 months at $369,000. It is about $46,000 less than the 2-year average. So we'll hopefully, we may exceed our $550,000 budget, but perhaps not by as much as we've seen in the past years. Roadways overtime, is pretty much where we were at, last month. We haven't had any additional overtime, that went over substantially, in past reports, which is the same as the buildings and grounds overtime. Roadway snow is starting to pick up now. This does not include February, which is when we got a couple of big storms. So we're still under our 2-year average, but I think we'll catch up during the month of February, which goes for buildings and grounds and both the roadways as well. So on our municipal solid waste, we are 264 tons above our 2-year average. Right now that represents about $17,700 more than what we had budgeted. I will tell you that last month, I think we were projecting somewhere around $23,000 being over budget. So the January tonnages were less than the tonnages in January last year. So maybe that trend will continue going forward, and we'll be able to close that deficit gap, projected deficit gap. On the recycling side, it's only for the first 6 months. The information on recycling comes in a little bit later. We're 42 tons over our 2-year average, but the price is down from what we had budgeted. We budgeted $87.19. Right now, the current tip fee was $73.35, and that mainly has to do with the revenue that our recycler gets for the recycled material, which fluctuates by month to month, but it looks like they're seeing more revenue than what we had anticipated, so we're paying less per ton based on our contract with Murphy Road. Is there any questions on the expenditure side? If not, I'll go to the revenue side, and I know that there's an update on the revenue side, so I would maybe perhaps ask you to look at the screen, which might be helpful. You do not have this information. This became available this afternoon. First off is all revenues. We've received 81% of all our revenues, and the 2-year average is about 84%. I will say on current taxes, I did this work over the weekend, and I did notice that we were running behind on current taxes. I met with with Rob Buden this afternoon, and the revenue collector and the assessor, and it turns out that some of the information was not updated. The actual amount, and you'll see 2 columns up on the screen. One is January 31st and one is February 1st. You may recall that January 31st was on a Sunday. February 1st was a relatively large snowstorm. So, people who were coming in, February 1st or mail coming in on February 1st, there were some delays. So the actual January 31st total was really $44,465,000, which put us at 93%. Our 2-year average is 95%. Well, February 1st, which is 1 day later, our actual collection is at $45,308,000, which is at 94.84%, which is pretty close to our 2-year average of 95%. So after looking at the numbers, I think it was a little bit of a timing issue, and at this point in time, we don't feel as there's anything significant to be concerned about. I will tell you that we have, the tax department has delayed making what we call tax demands, which is the step we take right before we turn it over to the town attorney for those tax sales. We've delayed that since the COVID-19 pandemic has started, so it goes back a ways. And those demands, they they can tend to have pretty quick action for people who owe us a lot of taxes, more than 2 years worth of taxes. But we've been somewhat reluctant to, move those forward during the pandemic. So I think that has a little bit of an impact on our tax collection rate, but not significant. Not really significant at this point in time. So I know that I had some questions about the current tax revenue, and then that's why we had this meeting, and that's why you see that update up on the screen. Does anybody have any questions about at least the revenues on the tax collections? All right. There's no change with regards to the fund balance since our last meeting, so we're still projecting, where we stood last month. On our special funds, recreation, we haven't been offering the programs because of the pandemic. We've spent, 23.64% of our expenditure, our budget, and on our revenue, we received 29% of our budgeted revenue. So, that's, at least our revenues are exceeding our expenditures at this point in time. Robertson Airport, pretty much on budget. The last month we paid the payment in lieu of taxes, which is a $70,000 payment from Robertson Airport to the tax collector's office. So that transfer was made. That's why you see 80,000 of the 89 spent. And our capital and other expenses amount to 66,000. That's coming out of the Robertson Airport fund balance. And we're pretty much online on the revenue side of that budget. Our current fund balance in the airport is $468,000, plus or minus a couple of dollars. On the water pollution control side, expenditures are running pretty much where they should be. The quarterly payment is the water pollution control has to make a quarterly payment back to the town. That's why those running a little bit under the expenditures, but they're going to pay the town back for some of the benefits and whatnot that get run through the town budget. We just have to make that transfer. Revenues are pretty much in line with where they have been over the last 2 years. And remember, they get billed out in November. So they've caught up. On the Plainville library expenditures, they're running a little bit under the 2-year average, and the revenues are running a little bit over the 2-year average. So as far as the special funds are concerned, nothing to be alarmed about. Not sure. Okay. Does anybody have any questions with regards to the special funds? If not, I'll go to the major projects report, which not surprisingly, there hasn't been much action on that either. Road bond is quiet for the winter. We will be asking the council for some approvals for use of materials and subcontractors at a future council meeting, perhaps the March 1st one, to get lined up for the springtime work. Our phosphorus project, we spent in January about $28,000. We're still running under budget with that project as it winds down. They expect to start up the phosphorus system. They don't run it in the wintertime. They expect to start that up next month in March. The Wheeler School project, really no update on that. Nothing really has happened in the last month. There's some, they're doing some final punch list work on that project, but nothing where we paid any monies. We still expect that to come in under budget. Parking lot project in the turf maintenance fund, really no changes at all. So if anybody has any questions about the major projects report, we'll try to answer them for you. And if not, we'll go to Matt Daskell and happenings. Matt, do you have any happenings this evening?
Good evening. I've got a relatively short list of happenings for this evening. The Senior Center continues to assist with COVID vaccination scheduling, as we discussed a few moments ago. I also just wanted to add, for those who don't have computer access, there are computers available at the Senior Center as well as at the library. Other classes offered by the Senior Center this month include a homemade cooking class for pizza, birthday bash for those of us that have February birthdays, including a drive-through treat auction and then a Zoom connection. There's a men's health session coming up later this month on February 25th. And the final is a book club for this month, ending on February 26th. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Robert and Matthew, for your reports. We do appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Robert or Matthew with their report that they gave us tonight? Okay, good job once again. Thanks very much, both of you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the rest of our agenda. We do not have any old business items on our agenda, so we'll go right to new business. We have, looks like one item. Is that right?
Looks like it. Madam Chair,
Unless something else happened. Yep, go ahead.
motion to approve the tax refunds is listed on the addendum.
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Takes care of new business. And any other discussions of interest? Robert, do you have anything else you'd like to bring forward?
I don't have anything. Other than the Valley Water, we talked a little bit about that. They have public hearings on Thursday morning, Friday morning, and Monday morning. And as a intervener in that process, I will be participating in all three of those public hearings and asking further questions of Valley Water, and hopefully having some type of influence over whatever decision is made with respect to their rate request increase.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Okay. Skipping along, we don't have an executive session, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
Madam Chair, motion to adjourn.
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Just as a point of information, I spoke to Robert Lee about this, and my hope is to have an in-person meeting beginning March at our March meeting, all contingent upon COVID activity levels. So right now they're at about 2.8%, which is pretty low. And so we'll see where it is by that point. But I'm hoping that in March we can get back together. After the first meeting, we will be having our budget work sessions. So we have a lot to do in March, and my intent is to get us back together in the council chambers.
Yes, and that March 1st meeting will include, a presentation of the town manager's recommended budget to the town council. We've got a couple of changes since we met in January. We'll go through them, and some of them are good and some of them are not so good. But again, we're just at the beginning of the process, and there's a lot that may happen in between before the council makes a final recommendation.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we had a motion and a second, and we're going to adjourn. So I want to thank you all for this evening, and we'll see you again at our next meeting.
Have a good night,
week,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
all.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Right.